Good morning everyone, this is Kosala, also known as Marventus, bringing you more insight into the Rift game world. Before we get started, let's take the environment volume down a little bit. Not environment volume, but music volume. Let's take that right down to about there. There we go. Okay, now as you can see, this is not the same character that I used for my initial character creation. This is actually my main character, Marvina. Is the same class, however, as he was before. Let's take a quick look at it. She is a now level 7, and the race is Eth as opposed to Balmy before. Still a Defiant. And I am still a mage subclassed to Chloromancer as my main because I wanted to have a healing class, and I found a healing mage class that is absolutely epically fun. Now I will go over the Chloromancer class in depth at a later time, but we started out with video 1 here being about character creation. This video is going to be about the starting basics. I have now reached the area of pre-march, which is, I guess, the area that you come to after the initial starting quests that set the storyline. And we're going to now take a look at a few basic things that you will need to know before you can get started. Let's take a look at the user interface. The tutorial that you go through will take some of these components for you, but just a head start for people who are used to other MMOs and need to know the basics very quickly. Up here is your character, there is your target, and there's your target of target. Right, the usual stuff. You can set these in the settings menu and they're switched off by default. So if you go to the settings menu here and then go to interface, the basics that I put on immediately was I went to names and I took off smart. I apologize, big sneeze there. I clicked on show NPC names and took off smart nameplate so I could see the NPC names at all times. Kind of useful in the beginning. I am actually on an RP server right here, so for RP purposes I guess you could take them off later on, but for the time being I decided to switch them on. I went to the MISC tab and I put on auto loot by default, that was switched off. And then I went to action bars and I set the bottom action bars to 3 and the side action bars to 2, like I'm showing right here. And I also like to see the action bars at all times, but you can click those off if you don't enjoy doing that. I personally like to see the action bars, so I have those on. So these are the basic stuff that I put on immediately because it was just good to do. Now, if you are not happy with the layout of how things are, you can go into the layout editor by hitting the escape key once again and then pressing edit layout. It allows you to move, a little tutorial about customizing your UI, and it allows you to move virtually every component of your user interface. To be honest, now that I've been playing for a while, I tend to find that the user interface components' default locations are very intelligently put together. So in general there is nothing here to move, so I just left everything at its defaults and left it as it was. So user interface basics covered there. Your main action bars are over here, and your sub action bars are here on the right. In the bottom left you have all the buttons you need to access your game components, from your character sheet to your quest log. Crafting, which comes late when you enter free march, your soul tree, which we'll get into in just a second, abilities, your raid configuration, and then your support key, your main menu, your social button, your achievements, and these two are actually shaded for the time being, so don't know what they are. Your main chat is over here. When you're trying to access chat levels, on the left hand side, if you go in here where the number is, that is the number of the channel that you're in, and then the description of the channel is right next to it. So for example, if I wanted to chat in levels 1 to 9 over here, I would use chat channel 4 by hitting the enter key, /4, and then pressing space, which automatically enters chat channel 4. There is also chat channel 1, which is free march in general, and then there's chat channel 2, there is no chat channel 2. There's chat channel 1, 4, how about 5? No, 3, no. So basically 1 and 4 are the main ones for the time being. The chat also automatically stickies your chat. when you start chatting, and it follows the normal WoW commands. If you've been in WoW, most of the user tab buttons here also follow the same commands that WoW used to have. So O for social, L for quests, C for character, N for talents, and so on and so forth. Smart move there on the side of Tryon to do it that way. What else do we know about chat? Yes, hitting the R key when you get a whisper is how you whisper back. So again, same as World of Warcraft. Up here on top you have your buff bar, and if you have any debuffs, they will show up on your character screen as well. Now, when it comes to quests, you have your quest log here in the L key, or in the button bar down here in the bottom left. And the quest log is very descriptive, and it's also movable, like all windows in Tryon World are. Very, very nice. And then over here, last but not least, in the bottom right, you have your bags that are accessible with the B key, and they can also be moved around quite easily, and they remember their position. And you start out with just the one bag. Do not buy bags in the beginning. You will get plenty of bags as the game progresses. You will never run out of bag space, so nothing to worry about there. And then, here on the right hand side of the screen, you will have your quest, active quests, and the tracking of quests, which you can turn on and off in the settings window, but generally I find it very useful to have it on, so you can see when stuff is done. So that's the basics you're going to need to know. Now, once you get to pre-March, you get to do some fun things like pick up some professions. We will cover professions in depth in a later video, but for the time being, let's get to the more interesting stuff: talents. Now, talents in this game are called soul trees. So you've got your main soul tree, which is the one in the middle. That's the class you picked first, and then you can accumulate souls as you go along. Now, the fun thing is with the souls that once you've gained abilities, regardless of, even if it's not in your main soul, they are accessible to you. So for example, although the Chloromancer tree is a primarily healing tree, I have paired it up with the Warlock tree and the Archon tree to provide combat abilities from the Warlock side and buff abilities from the Archon side, filling up my character in a very, very nice way. Now, there's going to be a future video that goes into very in-depth coverage of the talent trees themselves and what each of these Chloromancer abilities do, but for the time being I will show you how I combined a lot. Every single level you gain 1 talent point, and every 3 levels you gain an extra talent point. And until you have gotten at least one of the abilities in the lower tree fully buffed out, you can't move into the higher tree. Now, over here at the bottom in the roots of the talent trees, you see a bunch of abilities that you can't select yourself but become automatically available depending on how many points you put up here. So for example, when I have put 8 points into my Chloromancer tree, this will automatically become available, and then at 10 points these two will become available, at 12 points this one, and so on and so forth. So very, very nicely done concept, and you actually need to pay quite a lot of attention to these skills because some of them marry up very well with other skills. There's no way that you're ever going to get all of these skills. In fact, I don't know even if you want to always get, or at any point get all of the skills in any one tree. So it's actually going to be quite an exciting procedure to see how to mix and match your character in unique ways. Now, you can have 3 souls active at any one time, but you can actually collect as many souls as you like later on in the game. It can be kind of a mini-game by itself, just collecting a whole bunch of souls and playing your character in different ways. Now, I am primarily a healing class with augmented damage abilities for questing, and I actually have had no serious problem at all. The Chloromancer is primarily a hot-based healer, so it uses healing over time spells and not necessarily big heals. I've only got 1 healing spell so far, that is Bloom. It can only be cast as an ally, it cannot be cast on yourself. And on myself I've got abilities that heal as I do damage. So on the whole, I actually consider this to be highly interesting. It's certainly looking to be a very, very promising healing class that is going to be challenging to play and also very interesting to play. So far I'm absolutely loving this game's in-depth character evolution concepts and depth of play. I can see this being something that could potentially wind up being played for a very, very long time, simply because of the massive amount of variations. You will also not need to have a huge amount of alts, because the variation combinations that you can pull off on one character will give you that depth of variation that you really want. as long as you've picked a main class or a main concept that you really like to play. And last but not least for today, let's cover professions very quickly. You can have a maximum of 3 professions. There are 3 gathering professions, and then I actually haven't found the crafting professions yet, but I assume there are 3 crafting professions. You can only have 3 professions of any kind in total, so you need to be careful picking your professions. So far I've only picked 1 gathering and left the other 2 slots free while I wait to figure out what crafting professions there are in the game, and I will cover crafting in depth at a later date. The most important thing to keep in mind for the time being are the gathering professions have tracking abilities, and you can actually have more than 1 tracking ability running at the same time. As you can see, I've got both track wood and track plants running simultaneously. A nice little thing to know. It took me a while to figure that out, because coming from WoW, I just hit the 1 tracking and ran around with 1 tracking until I figured out that you could actually have them both instead of having just the one. So there we go. You have your basic introduction there to getting started in Rift. I hope you guys, or lots of people who are watching, will join the game, because I actually think this has a huge amount of potential. And Tryon Worlds did an excellent job. There have been virtually no problems whatsoever since this game started. No bugs, no server crashes, no lags, no quests buggering out. Absolutely everything has been an incredibly smooth start. So kudos to Tryon Worlds on that. Not to mention the graphics. Here we have the graphics running only at medium, with 1 level of multi-sampling on the on softening up the corners, and the graphics fantastic. They just look sensational. And let me just pop outside for a little bit and take a look at the surrounding area so you guys can see what I'm talking about. It is just exceptionally well done. The skies look wonderful. The particle effects are excellent. The textures are high resolution, and it gets a hell of a lot higher than this. If you have a very beefy machine, you can run it on ultra. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm running it on medium because frapsing takes quite a lot of power, and I don't want this to crawl down to anything below the 25 FPS it's on now. But hey, yes, I am absolutely looking forward to bringing you a lot of in-depth coverage of Tryon in the future. If you have any questions or any specific things you'd want me to cover, don't hesitate to ask. In the meantime, like, dislike, and comment, and the other good YouTube stuff that you do, because that really helps the rankings and searches. And I look forward to talking to you guys again in the near future. Have a wonderful weekend.